Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. Everything I say is alleged, my opinion, and for entertainment purposes only. Let's get into this Real Housewives of New Jersey reunion part 2. So they open up with Teresa and Melissa arguing when Teresa said that Melissa, she changed her mind and Melissa put her in jail. So, the host was like, Andy was like, do you really believe Melissa put you in jail? And Teresa said, this is it. My brother knows who he is, and my brother was hanging out with the people that put us in jail. So he turns to Dolores. Dolores seems to know everything, and Dolores seems to have the answer. She says she don't want to believe it herself that a brother would do that to his sister. So they know something on that side of the couch. They know something. And then she brings up, what's her name? Jacqueline, and Melissa reads a text that Jacqueline said about Teresa. Child, it's just a whole mess. And then they turn to Pick Me Rachel to highlight her story. Bitch, she came up here and said her husband lost a lot of weight, only to find out that he had liposuction. So he ain't lose the weight. He had surgery. She is such a fraud. So did y'all notice that Jen put her on blast? She told Jen that she don't watch the show, but end up telling Jennifer that she had a fake account under whatever 1, 2, 3, 4. But do you notice how she tried to divert that conversation and went on to Jen going to her nose doctor? No, let's go back to the previous conversation with your fake. She said Jen was hypocritical but wanted to use her nose doctor. Girl, listen, your nose job was horrible and it looked like you got it fixed because it ain't looking the same. So Jen wasn't lying. It was a horrible nose job. Why was it so pointy? That's all I needed to know. So the adoption is finalized. She adopted her husband's son, which is cool, but I feel like this should have been done off TV. And we find out about the adoption right here on the couch. Because not only did she bring it on TV, she talks about his mother on TV, which is not cool. You're going to adopt him, but leave the mother out of it. So we find out that Jaden's birth mother talked to some blogs, child. So Andy asks her, tells her that the birth mother said that the husband is preventing her from seeing the children and that she only did the adoption for the show. So Dolores pipes in and said, she told me years ago that she wanted to adopt the son. Okay, fine. So he asks her, is it true that John is preventing her from talking to her son? She says, unfortunately, one of my castmates would know. Oh, God, I don't like Rachel. Excuse my French. But wouldn't you know if your husband was preventing her from speaking to her son? You live with him. What does your castmate have to do with this? So she says, one of my castmates, Louis, had somebody reach out to her. So Rachel think it was Louis that found her information and had the bloggers reach out to her. Girl, I would say something too, the way you talked about that lady on the TV. Like I said, you should have just left it at the adoption. You didn't have to bring the mother up. So here's what's hypocritical for me. They mad. Well, they said Louis kept bringing up this private investigator. So they're mad because he hired a private investigator. But when Margaret do it, although she ain't hire a private investigator, she getting secondhand word and bringing it out on national TV. It's okay when Margaret do it. But when somebody do it to y'all, it's a problem. Like, you can't put stuff out there and then when it happens to you and be hurt. You can't do that. So Teresa said, Margaret, you started this all last season. Excuse me, I'm eating ice. I'm sorry, y'all. You started this last season, which Margaret did. But why is Melissa chiming in? Because Teresa decided to apologize to Margaret and so that they could be friends again. But why is Melissa jumping in? Because it ain't got nothing to do with you. She was talking to Margaret. So Teresa and Teresa and Melissa namaste each other. Child, I can't. So they bring out the Jewish girls, Jen Fessler and Jackie. Jen Fessler had a facelift, a nose job, weight loss for the show. And they talk about her having sex with Tony Soprano. Child, I can't. Then we go to Jackie. Jackie came back as a friend of the show. She said she was in a good place, but she was able to write her book. And then they talk about Dolores losing weight on Ozempic. She says the only thing that worries her about the Ozempic is that when they're off it, the weight is going to come back, and then it creates bad habits because people are looking to be thin. Child, I don't know how we got on Melissa. Somebody asked a question about Melissa stealing wine glasses. And then on the bus, she said she feel like drunk texting her ex. Teresa jumps in and says, I would never say that as a married woman. So he asked her something about strippers. She said, I'm not into strippers. She said, I like Channing Tatum, whatever his name is, from Magic Mike. And Melissa goes, oh, but you can say that and I can't say that. Listen, Teresa got a point. You a married woman, but you talking about texting your ex. She's talking about a celebrity. Let's just chalk it up. Melissa and Teresa ain't ever gonna get along. And that's that. Did y'all notice in the flashbacks where Melissa didn't understand what an arsenal was? And Margaret said in her confessional that her and Teresa are just alike, not the sharpest knives in the drawer. You notice they ain't show that part, right? So we back to Margaret. He asked her, well, somebody asked a question. Why was it not okay for Jen and Teresa to say that Margaret is better as a friend than an enemy? And when Jackie said it's okay. And here come Margaret with the excuse that she was forewarning them. So, okay. So first of all, Andy brings up that Jen already told Melissa about the rumor. Melissa says she already knew because Joe had met with Teresa and Louis, right? So they said, why did you tell Danielle not to say it if you knew that she already knew? Well, in my opinion, Danielle was so anxious to know about it. Danielle was the one that begged her to tell her, okay? And then at the party, she was like, she gonna say something. They told her not to say nothing, but she wanted to say something anyway. Listen, in my eyes, Danielle was not set up. Danielle was so anxious to tell Melissa. If they set her up, she still was so anxious to tell Melissa. They told her not to say nothing. And here go Pick Me Rachel talking about you was manipulated. She was not manipulated. She did what she wanted to do. The whole point was Margaret started the rumor. I am reviewing this as I'm watching the show. Come back from the commercial break. Danielle basically says she don't feel set up. And I'm glad she said that because she begged Jennifer to tell her the information at the end of the day. Melissa, Teresa don't like you. She don't want you to be with her brother. That's why she did not invite you to the house to tell you the rumor. Girl. So Andy asked Melissa, who does she most blame? Outside of Margaret starting the rumor, she says she blames Teresa for talking to her husband without her. But you're not mad at Margaret for starting the rumor. Okay. Melissa is so hell-bent on making Teresa wrong about this rumor. Why are you not addressing Margaret? Why? Margaret, you was mighty quiet during the back and forth arguing. Why didn't you chime in, girl? Because your mouth is wicked. Why you ain't chime in? Let me tell you something. I can guarantee you, if this scenario if Teresa was to leave this show and Melissa did something to Margaret, Melissa would be the target for Margaret. I can guarantee you that. And that's just in my opinion. So the guys in the dressing room said things is different. It's never been like this. Child, Joe, I'm going to need you to stop. You've been starting shit since the show started with your sister. I'm going to need you to stop lying. So we get back to Jen and Margaret revealing that her husband had an affair on Jen and that it affected her child. Margaret going to say, I'm not going to take the child being affected because there was issues before the marriage. Margaret, you need to take some responsibility. You put it on TikTok for this little girl to see. So I'm going to need you to stop. Take some accountability. That's the part that's bothering me. Like, Margaret knows she started these rumors and she put stuff out there to hurt other people, but she takes no accountability. She won't even apologize on behalf of the child. Don't give an excuse. Apologize on behalf of the child being affected. Point blank and to the period. And for some reason, we get back on Melissa and this rumor and why Danielle put it out on national TV. Danielle said for her to cut it short. Child, I can't. Then they bring it back to Louis. Teresa and Margaret, and how they were friendly until after something, the final season, the final show, and how Margaret says her child was called on a job and it was Louis and they have the numbers. When y'all do shit, it's okay. But because Teresa and her man is fighting back, it's a problem. And I ain't saying none of this is okay. But when you at war, child, I can't. Again, reality TV war. All is fair. The fuck? Listen. Margaret called Dolores in shambles. Dolores got the phone call. She said that Margaret told her that Teresa knew. Teresa was like, why didn't you tell me she called? And Margaret's like, why should she tell her? Because she's her fucking friend. Why shouldn't she tell her? Because she's her fucking friend, Margaret. The fuck? Why you putting Dolores in it? I don't understand. Dolores says she wants nothing to do with it. But yet, you couldn't tell Teresa about the phone call? Because Margaret sure called you out. So Danielle, they go on their break so the men could come out. So Danielle is in her room telling her husband they set her up. You just said you ain't feel set up. At the end of the day, if you ain't begged Jennifer to tell you the information, you wouldn't have had no information to go back to. So Danielle, stop that. Stop it. And let me just circle back to Margaret's child being called on the job. The fact that Andy brought out that all of them have been getting spoof phone calls makes it null and void. Now, let's just say Louis did call. So what? No, I ain't going to say so what. Because it really shouldn't involve the people that's not on the show. So I'm going to take that back. I'm not going to say so what. But the fact that Andy brought up that every last one of them have been getting spoof phone calls with their numbers kind of makes it null and void. In my opinion. So the guys come out and then the episode ends. So what do y'all think about Melissa constantly blaming Teresa when it was Margaret that started all the rumors? She don't hold Margaret accountable for nothing, but her guns are pointed at Teresa for everything. Do y'all think that's fair? Just a question. Anyway, that's all I got. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know when my next video comes out, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.